The Grandway spaceport was always full of noise. Ships came and went, engines hummed, traders shouted about their goods, and machines beeped from every corner. People from 100 different worlds filled the long, echoing halls. Some wore polished suits with shining boots, others had dusty jackets from long travels. Everyone moved quickly, as if they had no time to stop and look around. Everyone, that is, except for one small creature. It was no taller than a human knee and covered in soft, silver fur that glimmered under the station lights. Its long tail swayed slowly as it padded between the crowds. Two large golden eyes scanned the busy walkways, and every so often its tiny ears flicked at a strange sound. It looked a bit like a cat, but its face was slightly different. The nose was smaller, and there were faint blue patterns in its fur. Most people ignored it. A few noticed it only to laugh. "There goes that little space rat," a tall miner said as it walked past. "Still hanging around that scrap heap of a ship?" A group of young traders glanced at the creature and shook their heads. "I heard. Its owner crashed years ago. Now it just wanders here like it's waiting for something. Poor thing. Or maybe it's just too dumb to leave." The creature didn't react. It just kept walking, moving with quiet steps toward the outer docks. In Dock 47, a human named Sam was leaning against a wall, watching the ships. Sam had been at the Grandway spaceport for 3 days now, looking for work. He had a small tool, case and a bag of clothes, but not much else. His hair was messy from sleeping in the station lounge, and there was a tired look in his eyes. Sam wasn't a pilot, not yet. He was a mechanic. He grew up fixing small farming drones on a quiet planet, but he had always dreamed of working on real ships. The trouble was, nobody wanted to hire an untested mechanic, especially one who didn't have fancy papers or a big name. As Sam stood there, the silver creature appeared, walking right toward him. Sam crouched down slowly so he wouldn't scare it. "Hey there, little one," he said in a soft voice. The creature stopped and tilted its head. Its golden eyes blinked once, twice, as if it was studying him. Then it stepped closer, sniffing the air near his hand. Sam noticed its fur was cleaner than he expected for something living around the docks. The blue patterns on its back glowed faintly, almost like they were alive. "You're not from around here, are you?" Sam asked quietly. "Well, I guess neither am I." The creature let out a sound, not quite a meow, not quite a chirp, and then turned around, walking toward the far end of the dock. It stopped after a few steps and looked back at him. Sam frowned. "You want me to follow you?" Another soft chirp. Sam glanced around. No one seemed to care what he was doing. So he picked up his tool case and followed. The creature led him past small freighters and cargo haulers, down a narrow maintenance path that smelled faintly of burnt metal. At the very end of the dock was a ship Sam had seen before, or, at least, a pile of metal that used to be a ship. The hull was dented, scratched, and faded. One of the landing struts leaned awkwardly, and the ramp was stuck halfway open. The ship's name, whatever it had been, was long gone. Pieces of its outer panels were missing, exposing tangled wires and rusted beams. Sam had heard the locals call it the tin can. Nobody flew it anymore. In fact, most said it couldn't even start. The little alien cat stopped in front of the ramp and looked at Sam. "This is your ship?" Sam asked, raising his eyebrows. The creature padded inside without hesitation. Sam hesitated for a moment, then climbed the ramp. The air inside smelled faintly of oil and dust. The lights were dim, flickering in places. The main corridor was narrow, with worn floor panels that rattled under his boots. The creature trotted ahead, leading him to what must have been the control room. The pilot's seat was torn, one of the control sticks hung loose, and the main console flickered with static. A soft hum came from somewhere deep inside the ship, but it didn't sound steady. Sam stepped closer to the console. The controls were old, older than any ship he had worked on, but the design was strange. It wasn't the kind of ship you'd normally find in a trade port like this. You know, he said slowly, I think there's more to this ship than people realize. The creature jumped onto the pilot's seat, sat down, and swished its tail. Then, with a single paw, it tapped a panel on the side of the console. Click. A small compartment slid open with a faint hiss. Inside was a crystal drive, glowing faintly, blue. Sam's eyes widened. Well, that's interesting. He reached out and picked it up. It was warm in his hand, and strange lines of light pulsed inside it, like a heartbeat. This wasn't standard tech. It looked like something from the older exploration fleets, maybe even earlier. Sam glanced at the little alien cat, who was now watching him closely, golden eyes steady. All right, he said with a small smile. You've got my attention. Outside, the noise of the spaceport carried on. Ships arriving, traders shouting, engines roaring. Nobody noticed that in Dock 47, a forgotten ship and an equally forgotten mechanic had just found each other. And neither Sam nor the alien knew it yet, but this was the start of something far bigger than either of them could have imagined. The next morning, the spaceport felt different to Sam. It wasn't just the usual hum of ships and traders. It was the thought of that strange silver creature and the broken ship in Dock 47. He had spent the night in the station lounge again, lying, on a stiff bench with his tool case under his head. The crystal drive had stayed in his pocket the whole time. Every now and then he would take it out and look at it. The faint blue light inside pulsed slowly, like it was alive. By the time the station clock showed morning, Sam was already walking back toward Dock 47. When he reached the end of the dock, the tin can was still there, just as broken as before. The ramp was half open, the hull still dented, but there was something almost welcoming about it now. The silver creature, Pip, Sam had decided to call it that, was sitting at the top of the ramp, tail wrapped neatly around its paws. When it saw Sam, its ears twitched, and it let out a small chirp. "Morning, Pip," Sam said with a smile. "I guess you were waiting for me." He climbed inside. The air was cool and smelled faintly of old metal and dust. The control room was just as he remembered. The torn pilot seat, the loose control stick, the flickering console. But now, Sam wasn't just looking at a broken ship. He was looking at a puzzle. He set his tool case down and knelt by the console. "All right," he muttered. "Let's see what you've got hiding in here." Pip jumped up onto the co-pilot's seat and watched. Sam carefully opened the console's access panel, expecting to see a mess of old wiring. But what he found made him pause. The cables weren't standard. The connectors had strange shapes, and the power conduits were lined with a faint, glowing material he didn't recognize. It wasn't just old, it was rare. Sam ran his hand along the wiring. "This isn't junk," he whispered. "This is advanced. And whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing." Pip gave a soft trill, as if agreeing. Sam pulled the crystal drive from his pocket and slid it into the slot Pip had revealed the day before. The console flickered once, twice, and then the screen lit up with a smooth blue glow. Lines of symbols danced across the display, not in any language. Sam knew, but they flowed in neat rows, almost like music written down. A moment later, a small image appeared on the screen, a diagram of the ship. It wasn't a normal blueprint. This one showed glowing pathways from the engines to the main drive core, and the core didn't look like any jump engine Sam had seen before. "This is a whole new type of drive system," Sam said slowly. "If it works, this ship could fly faster and farther than anything out there." Pip tilted its head and tapped the console with one paw. The screen shifted, showing a set of coordinates. Sam leaned closer. They were deep in uncharted space. No trade routes, no stations, just empty star maps. "Is that where you want to go?" Sam asked. Pip's tail swished once. Sam looked back at the blueprint. If he could repair the core and bring the engine back online, they could at least test the ship. But there was a problem. The repairs would require tools and parts he didn't have. And getting them wouldn't be easy, not when he had barely enough credits for food. He sat back in the co-pilot's seat. All right, Pip. If we're doing this, we'll have to do it the clever way. The rest of the day was spent making small repairs that didn't cost money. Sam scavenged loose panels from the abandoned maintenance yard near the docks. He replaced a few cracked wires with spares from his own tool case. The work was slow, but every fix made the ship feel a little more alive. Sometimes when Sam tightened a bolt or replaced a fuse, Pip would chirp happily as if cheering him on. Other times, the creature would disappear into the ship's small crawl spaces and return with something. A lost tool, a missing screw, even a data pad with old system notes. Sam had never met an animal so helpful. By evening, the lights in the control room were brighter. The air systems were humming again, and the floor panels no longer rattled when he walked. The ship still couldn't fly, but it was no longer just a pile of scrap. That night, Sam sat on the ramp, looking out at the spaceport lights. Pip sat beside him, watching too. You know, Sam said quietly, if this drive system works, people are going to want it. And if people want it, they'll try to take it. Maybe that's why no one has touched this ship. They don't know what it really is. Pip blinked slowly, golden eyes reflecting the dock lights. Sam rubbed his hands together. We'll need fuel, and a stabilizer coil for the drive, and probably a full capacitor replacement. But once we've got those... He didn't finish the sentence, but in his mind, he could already see it. The tin can lifting off, the stars stretching into long lines as the ship made its first jump in years. The next day, Sam began looking for the missing parts. He visited the salvage yard first, digging through piles of rusted machinery. He found a stabilizer coil buried under a crate of broken drone arms. The vendor, a short man with oil-stained hands, didn't even know what it was worth and sold it for a handful of credits. The fuel was trickier. Sam had to barter with a cargo pilot who owed him a favor from fixing a small shuttle door the week before. In return for helping patch a coolant leak, the pilot gave him 2 sealed fuel cells, enough for one long test flight. By evening, Sam had almost everything he needed except the capacitor replacement. That was the most expensive piece, and he had no idea how he'd get it without money. Back in the tin can, he set the parts on the floor. Pip walked around them, sniffing each one, then looked up at Sam with a chirp. I know, Sam said with a sigh. We're close, but not close enough. Pip tapped the crystal drive slot with its paw. The console lit up again, showing the blueprint. This time, a small section flashed red. The capacitor location. Sam stared at the red flash. Yeah, I see it. But those things aren't exactly lying around in the open. Pip hopped off the seat and trotted toward the back of the ship. Curious, Sam followed. They went past the sleeping quarters and down a narrow ladder into the cargo hold. Pip stopped at a corner wall and tapped it twice. A hidden panel slid open. Inside was a storage locker. Sam's eyes widened. You've got to be kidding me. Inside the locker was a capacitor. Not just any capacitor, a top-grade, rare model that could power almost any advanced engine in the galaxy. Sam grinned. Pip, you've been full of surprises since the moment I met you. He reached in, lifted the capacitor out, and set it carefully on the workbench. Tomorrow they could finish the repairs, and when they did, the tin can would fly again. The next morning came with a quiet excitement inside Dock 47. Sam had been up before the station lights turned on, tools in hand, ready to finish what he and Pip had started. The rare capacitor from the hidden locker sat on the workbench, polished, clean and ready for installation. Pip was already in the control room, sitting upright in the co-pilot's seat as if waiting for the big moment. All right, Pip, Sam said, wiping his hands. Today, we see if your ship can still fly. Installing the heart of the ship, the capacitor slot was deep inside the engine housing. Sam had to crawl through a narrow maintenance tunnel, his back pressed against the cold metal ceiling as he worked. The old capacitor slid out with a rusty groan, revealing burnt edges and a faint smell of singed wiring. "No wonder you couldn't move," Sam muttered. He carefully slid the new capacitor into place. It clicked in with a perfect fit, as though the ship had been waiting years for this part. Once the connections were secure, Sam backed out of the tunnel and dusted himself off. Moment of truth. Bringing the tin can back to life. In the control room, Sam sat in the pilot's seat. Pip leaned forward, eyes fixed on the console. Sam powered up the main systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deep, steady hum, the ship's lights brightened. The console flickered, then glowed with smooth, stable blue light. The engine readouts scrolled across the display, all systems in the green. Sam grinned. "She's alive." Pip gave a soft trill, tapping the star map again. The same uncharted. Coordinates appeared. "You really want to go there, don't you?" Sam said. Pip's tail swished once. "All right then, let's start small. A short flight just to test her." Leaving the dock, Sam called into station control for a departure. "Slot." The dockmaster on the comm sounded surprised. "The tin can? You're taking that thing out?" "That's the plan," Sam replied casually. "Well, don't scratch the station when you crash," the dockmaster chuckled. Sam rolled his eyes but didn't answer. He guided the ship's systems through the pre-flight checklist, adjusting thruster levels and stabilizer settings. The moment he released the docking clamps, the ship shifted gently under him. It was the first time in years it had moved under its own power. With a light touch on the controls, Sam guided the tin can out of Dock 47. The huge doors slid open, revealing the endless black of space. The moment they cleared the stations, boundary lights, Sam pushed the thrusters forward. The ship glided smoothly into open space. A ship with a secret as the stars stretched around them, Sam noticed something strange. "This thing handles like it's brand new," he said aloud. "And these thrusters, they're stronger than they look." Pip gave a small nod, as if proud. Sam decided to test a little more. He increased speed and made a tight turn. The ship responded instantly, without the sluggish delay he expected. "From an old freighter." "She's hiding something," Sam murmured, "and I like it." The jump test, once they were clear of the station, Sam decided it was time to try the jump drive. He entered a set of safe coordinates, a small asteroid field 2 systems away, and engaged the drive. Normally, jump engines whined loudly before the ship slipped into faster-than-light travel, but this time there was only a smooth, low hum, followed by a gentle stretching of the stars outside. In less than a minute, they were at their destination. No shaking, no alarms. Just a clean, perfect jump. Sam sat back in his chair, stunned. That was incredible. "Pip, do you realize what this means? Ships out there take hours to cross this distance. We just did it in under a minute." Pip gave a happy chirp. Something in the asteroid field, Sam, was about to turn the ship around when the sensors pinged. A faint signal was coming from deeper inside the asteroid field. "That's odd," he said. "There's no station here, no beacons. Let's take a look." He guided the ship between massive chunks of rock, moving carefully to avoid collisions. As they got closer, the signal grew stronger. Finally, they came around a large asteroid and saw it, a small cargo vessel drifting without power. Its hull was scorched, but it looked mostly intact. "Looks like it's been here a while," Sam said. "No distress beacon, though. That's strange." Pip tapped the console, pulling up a scan. The results showed the cargo ship's hold was still sealed. Whatever it was carrying was untouched. Sam rubbed his chin. "Abandoned cargo, unmarked location." "Pip, This could be worth something. A quick decision, he eased the tin can closer to the cargo ship and used the docking arm to attach. Once the seals locked, Sam entered the other ship. Inside, it was silent. The lights were dead, but the air was still breathable. He made his way to the cargo hold and opened the first crate. Inside were small metal ingots, each stamped with a rare trade symbol, refined starlight alloy used in high-end ship construction. Sam let out a low whistle. This is worth a fortune. He quickly transferred the crates to the tin can. The entire process took less than an hour, and Pip kept watch from the co-pilot's seat the whole time. Once the cargo was secured, Sam undocked and set the jump, coordinates back to the station. A new kind of attention. When they returned to Grandway Spaceport, Sam tried to keep a low profile. But people noticed the tin can docking smoothly, its hull now glowing faintly from the engine heat. "Was that the tin can?" someone whispered. "I thought it couldn't fly. And why is Sam unloading so many crates?" Sam sold the alloy to a discreet trader he trusted. It was enough credits to cover fuel, repairs, and still have plenty left over. Back in the ship, Sam sat in the pilot's seat, counting the credit chips. Pip curled up beside him, purring softly. "This ship is going to change everything," Sam said. "We're not just fixing her anymore. We're going to use her. And if those coordinates you showed me lead to more finds like this..." He didn't finish the sentence, but his smile said enough. That night, in Dock 47, the tin can sat quietly, looking like the same old broken ship to anyone passing by. But inside, it was ready for the next journey. And for the first time in years, it had a pilot who knew its worth, and somewhere deep in the ship's systems, the mysterious drive hummed softly, almost as if it knew it would soon be tested again. The tin can's return to Grandway Spaceport that day caused more stares than usual. It wasn't only because Sam brought the ship back loaded with crates. It was the way he landed, smooth, steady, as if the old vessel had been built yesterday. Dock. Workers paused mid-task to watch the docking clamps close. Traders in the nearby bays leaned over railings to get a better look. Even the dockmaster, who once joked about Sam crashing, now spoke with a careful tone when granting clearance. Pip sat proudly in the co-pilot's seat as the airlock doors opened. A quiet transaction, Sam didn't take his cargo to the open market. This time. Instead, he met with a quiet buyer in the back of a repair shop. The man dealt in discreet sales. No questions, no records, just credits. The crates of rare medicinal plants and fine art fetched a price that made Sam's head spin. When the last payment chip slid across the table, he realized something. In less than 2 trips, the tin can had earned more than many small traders made in a year. Back at the ship, Pip chirped softly as Sam stacked the credit chips into the small safe under the floor panels. "We're doing well," Sam said. "But we need to be smart. If people start asking too many questions, this will get complicated." Whispers in the spaceport, but even as Sam tried to keep a low profile, whispers began to spread. "That ship used to be junk," a mechanic told a friend. "Now it's making runs no one else dares. I heard he found something out there. A big stash. Could be luck, or maybe he knows something we don't." The more the tin can left and returned with valuable cargo, the more the curiosity grew. People who once laughed at Sam now greeted him with cautious smiles, trying to start friendly conversations. Sam kept his answers vague. "Just doing some salvage work. Nothing special." But Pip noticed the extra glances, the way certain people lingered near the dock whenever they prepared to leave. Upgrading the tin can with new credits in hand, Sam decided to make a few improvements. He replaced the torn pilot's seat with a new one that adjusted to his height. The old control stick was swapped for a smooth, responsive model. The hull got a new layer of plating, carefully matched to the ship's worn look so it wouldn't draw too much attention. Pip also received a small corner of the control room outfitted. with soft cushions and a low heater panel, a proper co-pilot spot. Despite the upgrades, Sam kept the ship's biggest secret, the advanced drive system, untouched and hidden. No mechanic in the port was allowed to work near it. The next route one evening, Sam sat at the console with the glowing sphere from the strange ship. It floated above the display, projecting the hundreds of marked points across the galaxy. Pip sat beside him, watching closely. "We can't hit all of these," Sam said. "Too much risk, but if we choose carefully..." He tapped one of the closer points, a small sector near a dense nebula. The AI confirmed the route is valid. No known stations, no patrols. "Looks promising," Sam said, "and far enough away from busy lanes to keep us out of sight." Pip gave an approving chirp. Leaving quietly, Sam planned the departure for early morning, when fewer people would be at the docks. He loaded the ship quietly, avoiding unnecessary chatter with nearby crews. But as he sealed the ramp, he noticed a figure leaning against a cargo crate a few bays over. A tall man in a gray jacket, pretending to check his comm device but glancing toward the tin can more often than not. Sam didn't react, but he made a note of it. Someone was paying attention. Into the nebula. The jump to the nebula sector was smooth, the tin can's drive humming steadily. The moment they arrived, the view outside the cockpit was breathtaking. Clouds of blue and gold gas swirled across the darkness, lit by the glow of distant stars. Sam engaged the scanners. Faint readings appeared. A small cluster of ships, caught in the thin outer layer of the nebula. "Looks like another find," Sam said. Approaching carefully, they found 3 vessels. One was too damaged to be worth entering, but the other 2 were intact. The first contained sealed storage, boxes filled with crystalline components used in high-energy reactors. The second was different. Inside its cargo bay was a large metal crate with a smooth surface, no markings, and no visible seams. The scanner couldn't read inside it. Pip stared at the crate, tail flicking slowly. "You think it's important?" Sam asked. Pip chirped once, short and certain. The mystery crate Sam moved the crate onto the tin can. It was heavy, almost too heavy for the ship's small cargo lift. Even after it was secured in the hold, the scanner refused to identify what was inside. "We'll deal with it later," Sam decided. "Right now, let's get home before someone else shows up." The return trip was just as smooth as the journey, out. But as they approached Granway, Sam noticed something on the sensors. Another ship, matching their path exactly, unwanted attention. The other vessel didn't get close enough to be obvious, but it stayed within range until the tin can neared the spaceport. Then it peeled off, vanishing into a side route. Sam didn't like it. "We might have someone tracking us," he said quietly. Pip let out a low trill, almost like a warning. Back at the dock, this time Sam offloaded the less suspicious cargo, the crystalline components, and sold them to a trusted buyer. The mystery crate stayed on board, hidden under a false floor panel in the cargo hold. Later that night, Sam returned to the ship to find a small object stuck to the outer hull, a tracking beacon. He pried it off and showed it to Pip. "Looks like our quiet days are over." Pip's ears twitched. Sam tossed the beacon into a disposal unit. "All right, Pip. If they want to follow us, we'll just have to stay one step ahead." He looked over at the glowing sphere on the console, the next coordinates waiting to be chosen. And in the safe under the floor panels, the mystery crate sat silently, its contents still unknown, but likely worth more than anything they had found so far. The mystery crate sat in the tin can's cargo hold for 2 days. Sam had walked past it many times, glancing at its smooth, seamless surface. No locks, no handles, no control panel. It looked more like a single piece of metal shaped into a box. Pip seemed to watch it often, too. The little silver creature would sit near it, tail curled neatly around its paws, ears tilted forward. Sam finally stood in front of it with his arms crossed. "We can't keep guessing forever, Pip. We need to know what's inside." Opening the crate. The first problem was finding a way in. Sam tried running a standard cutting tool along the edges, but there were no edges. The crate didn't seem to have seams at all. The scanner still refused to show any image of the inside, only returning a message: material unknown. Pip jumped onto the top of the crate and tapped it twice with a paw. A faint ripple of blue light spread across its surface, then faded. Sam frowned. "Was that you?" Pip tapped again. This time, the ripple glowed brighter, and a small panel appeared in the center of the crate. It wasn't visible before. It seemed to grow out of the smooth metal. Inside the panel was a crystal slot, the same size and shape as the crystal. "Drive in the tin can." Sam reached into his pocket and pulled out the glowing crystal drive. This is either a very good idea or a very bad one. He slid the crystal into the slot. The reveal. The crate made a soft humming sound. Then the top slowly unfolded into 4 panels, each folding down like flower petals. Inside was a clear, protective case, holding a device unlike anything Sam had seen before. It was about the size of a backpack, made of silver and black metal, with thin blue lines of light running along its surface. In the center was a rotating sphere, floating in midair without any visible support. Sam's eyes widened. "This looks like a core drive, but it's too small and way too advanced." Pip hopped down beside the crate and stared at the device, golden eyes fixed on the floating sphere. Sam reached out and touched the protective case. A small holographic display lit up, showing text in a language he didn't know, followed by a line in standard trade language: prototype navigation core, quantum jump capable, unrestricted range. Sam felt his breath catch. "Pip, this isn't just an engine part. This is a navigation system that can jump anywhere instantly." The weight of the find: if the device worked, it could make any ship in the galaxy capable of reaching places far beyond known space in seconds. No need for fuel-heavy long jumps, no need for mapped routes. It would also be priceless and dangerous. Whoever owned this technology could outfly any fleet, control any trade route, and reach worlds no one else could. Sam slowly closed the crate again, sealing it back into its seamless form. "We can't let anyone know we have this. Not yet." Pip gave a short, serious chirp. Planning the next move that night, Sam sat in the cockpit with Pip, the glowing sphere map hovering above the console. "We have 2 options," he said. "We hide the core until we know who built it, or we find out how to use it ourselves." Pip tilted its head toward the second option. Sam nodded slowly. "I figured you'd say that." The glowing sphere map shifted, showing one of the more distant marked points. The AI noted it as a primary hub, whatever that meant. Sam set the route. "If this map came from the same people who built the core, maybe this hub will have answers." Leaving in the dark, they left Grandway Spaceport at night, slipping away with minimal lighting. The docks were quieter, though Sam still noticed a shadowy figure watching from a distance as the tin can departed. Once they were clear of the station, Sam set the jump coordinates. The tin can's advanced drive hummed softly, and in moments, they were far from the busy lanes, heading into deep space. The journey to the hub. The trip took them past a stretch of empty black space with no stars in sight, then into a region filled with faint glowing clouds. The sensors detected unusual energy signatures, but nothing dangerous. Finally, they arrived. Before them was not a planet, not a station, but a massive structure floating in space. It looked like a ring, thousands of meters across, with smaller, docking arms spiraling outward. In the center of the ring was a slow-turning sphere that pulsed with soft light. Pip chirped, eyes wide. "Yeah," Sam said quietly. "I think we found the hub." The silent welcome as they approached. The tin can systems reacted on their own. The navigation AI aligned the ship with one of the docking arms, and the engines adjusted without Sam's input. "Looks like they're inviting us in," he said. The docking process was smooth, too smooth, like the ship was communicating directly with the hub. When the clamps locked, a faint chime echoed in the cockpit. Pip hopped onto the console and tapped the crystal drive slot. The glowing sphere map shut off, replaced by a new image, the hub's internal layout. Inside the hub, the docking arm's airlock opened into a wide hallway made of the same seamless silver metal as the crate. The air was clean, and the lighting was soft and even. There were no people, no sounds except the quiet hum of the structure. It felt waiting. At the far end of the hall was a chamber with a round platform. In the center was a pedestal shaped exactly like the crate's crystal slot. Sam pulled the crystal drive from his pocket and looked at Pip. "I'm starting to think you knew this would happen all along." Pip tilted its head but said nothing. The connection. When Sam placed the crystal drive into the pedestal, the entire chamber lit up. Lines of blue light spread across the walls and floor, and the floating sphere in the center of the hub pulsed brighter. A voice spoke, calm and clear, in standard trade language. "Welcome, registered vessel. Access to navigation archives granted." Holographic star maps filled the air, not just the galaxy they knew, but others, stretching beyond known space. Routes, coordinates, and data on resources, worlds, and technologies appeared in rapid sequence. Sam stood frozen. This is everything. Every route, every system, every secret." A new gold Pip stepped onto the platform, and the holograms shifted again, showing a single glowing route leading far beyond the edge of the known maps. Sam stared at it. "That's where you want to go next, isn't it?" Pip gave a firm chirp. Sam took a deep breath. "All right. But if we're doing this, we're going to need more than just the tin can. We're going to need a plan." The lights in the chamber dimmed slightly, as if the hub was waiting for their decision. Sam glanced at the glowing maps one last time before removing the crystal drive. "Let's go home. For now." They walked back to the ship in silence, both knowing that whatever was waiting at the end of that far-off route might be the biggest discovery yet, or the greatest danger. The tin can glided through the deep black of space, its engines running smoother than ever. Sam sat in the captain's seat, one hand resting on the control panel, the other holding the crystal drive. Pip was curled up beside him, golden eyes, half closed, but still alert. It had been 3 weeks since they had found the mysterious hub. In that time, Sam had been thinking, not just about the glowing route Pip wanted to follow, but about the endless maps the hub had shown them. Maps meant opportunities, and opportunities meant wealth. The decision Sam leaned back in his chair. "Pip, we can't just rush to that faraway place. We need resources, allies, and a way to keep the tin can safe." Pip gave a soft chirp, which Sam decided to take as agreement. So, instead of jumping straight to the unknown, they began visiting places from the hub's archive that no other pilot knew about. Hidden trade worlds, abandoned mining stations filled with untouched ore, and old supply depots left from forgotten space routes. Every trip brought back something valuable: rare metals, high-grade fuel, even old technology that traders on the main routes would pay a fortune to get. Quiet. Fortune Sam was careful. They didn't sell everything at once. Instead, they traded in small amounts, spreading their business across different stations so no one would notice how much they had. Within months, Sam had enough credits to buy 2 more ships. These weren't flashy, just sturdy cargo haulers. But with Pip's maps, even the slowest ship could find rich routes and return safely. Sam hired a few trusted captains, people who didn't ask too many questions and were happy to split the profits. Word spreads. No matter how careful Sam tried, word began to spread. Traders whispered about a small fleet run by the human with the silver cat. No one knew where they were finding their cargo, but everyone agreed they were always a step ahead of the market. Some tried to follow. It never worked. Pips. Routes avoided the busy trade lanes, slipping through gaps in the maps no one else could see. By the end of the first year, Sam's fleet had grown to 5 ships. Each one carried goods no other trader could get. The credits flowed in. The offer one day, while docked at a large station in the core belt, Sam was approached by a tall merchant in a deep blue coat. "I've been hearing about you," the merchant said. "They call you the quiet pilot. The one who always knows where to go before anyone else does. I want in." Sam shook his head. "I'm not looking for more partners." The merchant smiled faintly. "I'm not offering to join you. I'm offering to buy your entire operation. Name your price." Sam glanced at Pip, who was perched on a nearby crate. Pip's ears flicked back as if saying no. "Not for sale," Sam said simply. The merchant gave a short nod as though he expected that answer. "Then I wish you luck. You'll need it." Protecting the secret. That conversation reminded Sam how important it was to protect what they had. From then on, the fleet operated under coded names and changed docking stations, often. Cargo records were hidden, and all routes were stored only on Pip's crystal drive. Pip seemed to understand the importance of secrecy. Whenever they docked at a busy port, Pip would stay close, avoiding curious strangers. The final jump after years of building their fortune, Sam finally decided they were ready to follow the glowing route Pip had shown in the hub. By now, they had enough wealth to fund entire expeditions, but Sam chose to take only the tin can. The route led them far beyond the familiar galaxy, past stars that looked strange and old. Days passed, and the journey grew quiet until the tin can emerged near a small golden planet surrounded by shimmering rings. As they approached, Sam saw what looked like enormous floating platforms, each covered in shining structures. The sensors reported massive reserves of rare crystals, far more valuable than anything they had ever found. The gift of the planet. When they landed on one of the platforms, Pip hopped out first, padding across the smooth ground. A soft light began to glow beneath its paws, spreading outward in a circle. Sam followed, watching as the ground opened to reveal a chamber filled with more of the small navigation cores. Dozens of them. Sam's jaw dropped. Each one of these could be worth more than an entire fleet. And here they were, untouched, waiting. Pip looked back at him and gave a calm, satisfied chirp. "You knew about this the whole time, didn't you?" Sam said with a smile. The return it took weeks to carefully transport the cores back to safe locations. Sam didn't sell them, not all at once. Instead, he traded one to a research institute for access to their private shipyards, another to a wealthy trader for exclusive trade rights, and kept the rest stored away. Within a year, Sam and Pip's influence stretched across half the galaxy's trade routes. They weren't just rich, they were untouchable. No fleet could match their reach. No map could outdo their routes. And no one could find where they were getting their endless supply of rare technology. Richest pilots in the galaxy one quiet evening, Sam sat in the tin can's cockpit, looking out at the stars. Pip was curled up beside him, tail flicking lazily. "We did it," Sam said softly. "We're the richest pilots in the galaxy." Pip purred in response, eyes half closed. Sam smiled, but it wasn't just about the wealth. It was about the journey. The stations no one else had seen, the hidden hubs, the quiet deals, and the way they had proved everyone wrong about the junk ship and the strange little alien cat. The tin can's engines hummed as they set off once again, not for profit this time, but simply to see what else was out there. Because for Sam and Pip, the galaxy was no longer full of limits, only possibilities. For the next 2 days, Sam couldn't stop thinking about the strange coordinates Pip had shown him. They were burned into his memory, a spot deep in uncharted space, far from any trade route. No station, no beacon, just empty stars. At first, Sam told himself it was too risky. Pilots didn't just wander into unmarked sectors without good reason. But the image of those untouched crates in the asteroid field kept coming back to him. If one abandoned ship had carried that much value, who knew what might be waiting farther out? Pip seemed to sense his thoughts. The little silver creature kept sitting in the co-pilot's seat, tail wrapped neatly around its paws, golden eyes, locked on Sam as if silently urging him to go. Finally, on the morning of the third day, Sam gave in. "All right, Pip," he said, buckling into the pilot's seat. "Let's see what's at your magic coordinates." Preparing for the journey. Before leaving, Sam made sure the tin can was ready for a long trip. He bought extra fuel cells, stocked the galley with enough food for a week, and loaded the storage lockers with spare parts. The credits from the Starlight. Alloy covered everything and still left him with enough to live comfortably for a while. As he made the final checks, a few dock workers stopped to watch. "You flying that thing again?" one asked. "Going farther this time?" another joked. Sam just smiled. "Something like that." Pip was already strapped in by the time Sam sealed the airlock and called for departure clearance. Into the black, the tin can drifted away from the Grandway spaceport, the huge dock doors sliding shut behind it. The moment they cleared the station's safety zone, Sam entered the mysterious coordinates into the navigation system. The display showed nothing but empty space ahead, yet the ship's AI marked the route as valid. "Interesting," Sam muttered. "Someone programmed this ship to know where it's going, but not to tell anyone else." He engaged the jump drive. The familiar soft hum filled the cabin, and the stars stretched into thin lines before melting into the strange haze of faster-than-light. Travel. Arrival. When the tin can dropped out of jump, the view outside the cockpit made Sam sit forward in surprise. Before them was a vast field of silent shapes, dozens of ships, maybe hundreds, drifting in the darkness. Some were freighters, some were passenger liners, and a few looked like old exploration vessels. None had their lights on. Pip's ears twitched, and it gave a short, sharp chirp. Sam scanned the area. These ships, they're abandoned. No distress calls, no active signals. It's like they were just left here. The sensor readings confirmed it. No life signs anywhere. But the cargo holds in many of the ships still showed sealed inventory. "This," Sam whispered, "is a graveyard of fortune." The first find Sam chose a medium-sized cargo ship on the edge of the field. Its hull was scorched, but it was still sealed. Docking was tricky. The abandoned ship drifted slowly, forcing Sam to adjust thrusters with precision. Once connected, he stepped into the dark interior. The air smelled stale, but it was breathable. The cargo hold was full of crates, stamped with a rare Merchant Guild emblem, the kind of goods that only appeared at exclusive auctions. Sam carefully scanned the manifest. Most of it was high-grade technology components, still in perfect condition. "This is worth more than the alloy we found last time," Sam said. "It took 3 trips to move everything into the tin can storage." Pip stayed in the cockpit, keeping watch through the ship's external cameras. Every time Sam returned, the little creature would give a short trill, like a quiet cheer. Deeper into the field, instead of heading straight back to the station, Sam decided to check 2 more ships before leaving. The second one contained sealed cases of rare medicinal plants, carefully packed and still alive in small nutrient pods. The third ship was a passenger vessel, empty of people but filled with personal cargo, art pieces, antique tools, and finely made clothing from across the galaxy. By the time they were done, the tin can's cargo bays were almost full. Sam sat back in the pilot's seat and looked at Pip. "We could go home now and be set for years. But something tells me you've got another idea." Pip tilted its head and tapped the star map again. This time, a different point flashed, deeper into the graveyard. You want me to keep going? Sam asked. A single chirp. The center of the graveyard, they navigated between the silent ships until they reached the heart of the field. Here, the vessels were older, their designs almost forgotten in modern space travel. Some were covered in strange crystal-like growths, as if they had been frozen mid-flight. At the very center was a ship unlike any Sam had ever seen. Its hull was sleek but scarred, and it glowed faintly with a light that didn't seem to come from any engine. Sam's scanners struggled to read it. This thing is not in the database at all. Pip leaned forward in the seat, eyes locked on the glowing vessel. I'm guessing this is why you brought me here, Sam said. The strange ship Sam approached carefully. The mysterious vessel didn't respond to hails or scans, but its airlock was open, as if inviting visitors. He hesitated for a moment. Feels risky. Pip stood on the console and gave a firm chirp, then looked toward the airlock door. All right, Sam said. Let's take a look, but we keep it quick. The interior was dim but surprisingly clean. The walls were lined with unfamiliar panels, covered in symbols Sam didn't recognize. The air was cool and fresh, unlike the stale air of the other abandoned ships. In the center of the main chamber was a pedestal. Resting on it was a sphere of glassy material, glowing with a soft blue light, the same shade as the crystal drive in the tin can. Sam stepped closer. This has to be connected to your ship. Pip padded forward, placing one paw on the pedestal. The sphere brightened instantly, and for a moment, the symbols on the walls began to shift and move. A low hum filled the room, a message in the light. The sphere projected an image into the air, a map of the galaxy filled with hundreds of glowing points. Many of them were in unexplored regions. Sam's eyes widened. Are these more locations like this? More graveyards? The image shifted again, focusing on one particular point far beyond the current map range. This location glowed brighter than all the others. Pip looked up at Sam and gave a soft, serious trill. Sam understood immediately. That's where you want to go next. A quiet departure, Sam carefully lifted the sphere from the pedestal and carried it back to the tin can. The moment they were on board, the ship's systems reacted. New star maps loaded automatically, and the navigation AI marked dozens of new routes. This just turned into something much bigger, Sam said as he sealed the airlock. They left the graveyard quietly, carrying more than just valuable cargo now. They had a key to something no one else in the galaxy seemed to know about. Back in the pilot's seat, Sam looked at Pip. Looks like we're going to be very busy. Pip curled up beside him, purring softly. Somewhere in the distance, beyond the mapped stars, the real treasure was waiting.